right, so in the past, when we've done this, we've let all the kids go and answer each question. We're gonna have a couple questions that we do that with, but we're gonna be kind of picking out some of you guys for certain answers, okay? However, if there's an answer you really wanna give, let us know and we'll give you the mic. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we're just gonna ask the teens questions and they can answer them, and then we'll go from there. So, Jackson, what was the theme for 2024?
Like the verse? Or
The theme, like
what was on our shirts?
yeah, yeah.
Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs? Oh yeah. It all originated, like every year there's this weird compilation video that usually doesn't make any sense and is usually super intense, but I don't remember who the guy was that was on there because I have no idea. I never know anyone on these videos because I'm not on social media. David Goggins. Yeah, David Goggins. And he was like, who's going to carry the boats and the logs? That was pretty much the theme for this year's endurance.
What does that mean? Do you know?
I wasn't actually 100% sure, but I mean, I'm sure it's, definitely like a metaphor for pushing through, even though it's hard and, enduring as it is named endurance. So, yeah.
Yep. Does anybody else have anything they want to say on the theme? Yep.
What were you talking about, the boat and the logs, it's kind of like a reference to the cross and how you bear your cross, So, yeah, that's cool.
Nice, yes. Okay, so just raise of hands. Who remembers the verse?
I do, for sure.
Keep your hands up if you remember the verse really well.
Pretty well, yeah. I think I know it.
Like well enough that you could actually say it.
Yep, I said it this morning.
Okay, so if there's 4 of you with your hand up, what's the likelihood that you guys could all say it in unison for the church to hear? Can we? I'll give this over to the girls, and you boys can have that one.
Okay.
Can we do this?
Sure.
Okay.
I think we can.
Wait a second, not yet.
3, 2, 1.
For they all saw him and were terrified. But he immediately spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I, do not be afraid." And he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased, and they were all utterly astounded.
Mark 6.
Mark 6:50 through 51.
Definitely give them a round of applause for that one. Those are not easy.
That one was pretty easy, actually. It was easier than last year.
I guess they're easy.
Last year we had like 3 times as much verses to memorize. Like it was harder last year.
Yeah.
I mean, we got it. I know. It was like, what are you doing to us? But this year was fairly easy this year.
Okay, so thinking about the verse, when did you guys have to use the verse? Rylan, do you want to answer that one?
Like when we have to use it during the weekend?
Yeah, during the weekend. What was the purpose of it? When did you use it?
Well, we had to use it. You had to pair it with the skit because there's a skit every time you go on Saturday night. The skit has to be sort of based on the memory verse. So that's sort of the first time you use it. But then the main part is when you have to use it on the obstacle course, because the obstacle course, you have to have it memorized and you have to recite it to a person by a table. And you advance to the next part of the obstacle course by memorizing the verse. So that's when you mainly use it. What?
And if you don't get it right, then you get docked points, basically. You get docked time on your obstacle course if you don't have it memorized. So it's very important to memorize it. And once you do, it never leaves you. I mean, it does eventually, but not for a while. But yeah.
Yeah, so throughout the weekend, they're all, so each group of kids, I think there are groups of 8 this year, groups of 8, 15 groups of 8, 7 or 8, there was 7 in a couple, but, and they all played different games or had different obstacles or different things that they had to accomplish throughout the week, working together as a group. and they would get points or get points deducted if they weren't doing things.
We're doing it right.
If they weren't doing it right or saying the verse right or whatever it may be.
We're being penalized for doing things they're not supposed to.
Right. Getting penalized for things you're not supposed to do. So at the end of the week, the team with the most points gets a giant prize, right? And they had, I think,
wasn't
the
that
top
giant.
5 prizes this year because there's so many kids. So that's what Ryan Lynn and Jackson kind of were talking about with like getting points and getting deducted. So,
Yeah. It all counts towards the end.
yep, it all counts towards the end.
Okay, so I can't read the next one, so
Oh.
you're going to have to ask the next one. Maybe one of the girls can answer this one.
Oh.
He wrote it down.
Oh, I was gonna. So how did the verse tie into the who's gonna carry the boat in the logs theme? Jen,
Jen?
maybe. Do you have any idea? Or Cammie? Cammie's like no. Do you have an idea? Okay.
I think so. The verse being about the storm and Jesus calming the storm, and I think what they're trying to do was they're trying to draw a correlation between him calming the storm and being there in the middle of bad situations and us persevering through that, trusting God through that, same as who's going to carry the logs and the boats, who's going to do the hard, go through the hard stuff, to come out of the end, and endure.
That's good. So Jackson had mentioned that during this, everyone had to do a skit on Saturday night. And part of the skit was you had to incorporate the memory verse inside of the skit. So I'm going to ask Cammie about her skit, and you can you want to share a little bit about your skit and how you went about using the verse.
So like we just pretty much did the whole Jesus walking on water, like we reenacted that scene, I guess, and all the boys in our team were like the disciples. One of them was Jesus, and then 3 of them were like throwing stuff like rain. Yeah. And I was like the narrator, so I just like kind of read the verse off. Yeah.
Jen?
Okay, so I was on Team Fuchsia, and we kind of went off script on the memory verse. So what we did was, for those who have seen Moana, we reenacted some of the main scenes in that, and so it would be so Moana is a girl, obviously. So we thought it would be funny if a boy played Moana. So I gave him like my sweatshirt and a pink towel for the skirt, and he was Moana. And we had somebody else play Maui and some of the main characters, and I was the Kakamora, like the coconut people. And so when how it played out was Maui had to get the hook from the crab in the movie, but we played it as Maui had to get the magic book, so it was the Bible. And the Bible verse was supposed to be like the weapon that destroyed like the lava monster. And so that's how like we kind of incorporated our memory verse into it.
So there's 15 different skits that we were sitting and watching, and last year Jackson came home very distraught because his team lost, even though they had probably the best skit of the group. Jackson, what happened this year?
We won. We had a pretty good skit. So my team was the Lapis Llamas. Our color was lapis, and then we came up with the llamas part. And so, but then during the week, somehow we eventually started saying it as Lapis Llamas, like a French person. So what we did was we did a battle. It was a war between the llamas, the Lapis Llamas, and the Audubon alpacas. and Autobahn was German, and I actually had a German teammate. He was German. He could speak German, and he was really cool. He was really fun to hang out with. Anyway, so we did that as like a war, and like we were just like, I like did like this speech, and then we like were like throwing insults at each other because the Autobahn alpacas shot the narrator, who was my team leader. And so then I was like, "You shot the narrator, you son of a motherless cow!" And then we like started fighting, and then the German kid Giannis, he came in with the Darth Vader theme music, and then he just starts dancing. It was so funny. He just started dancing. It was like dance battle, and then he like slayed all the troops. And then I was like, timeout. And then I was like, I read the scripture verse because it was hard. He was like literally about to kill me, and I was like, I have to take heart. I read the verse, and I was like, call in the La Peace La Air Force, and then my another one of my teammates who actually had flown a plane came in as a bomb, shot a bomb, and that was it. So it was a really good skit, I thought.
Yeah, it was definitely a good skit. So, yep, that was Saturday night, but all during Saturday, you guys played a whole bunch of different games. Some in the water in the morning, and some out in the not in the water, I guess, on land. What was Maverick? What was your favorite game from Saturday? Do you remember a favorite game that you played?
I would say the polar plunge. That is my absolute favorite because I love the swimming. It's my favorite.
So speaking of that, so usually we do a polar plunge on Saturday and Sunday, but this year you got off easy.
I wasn't afraid.
How did you feel about only doing the polar plunge one time?
I was looking forward to it. I was looking forward to the second time. The water is always usually warmer than the air around it, so.
Yeah, I definitely was looking forward to it.
So yeah, I was like kind of looking forward to the second polar plunge, but then when they said like we're not doing it, I was like, oh, I don't have to get wet, so I guess that's a bonus. And so I didn't have to get wet, and it was funny because the night before, someone, I think it was like Curtis, if any of you know him, he said your guys are gonna get so wet tomorrow, and I didn't get wet at all, so he lied. So do not trust him.
Okay, I gotta give this thing a go.
Yeah.
Okay, that day I was wearing my swimsuit and ready for that, like full on goggles and swimsuit under my shirt. I was like, what? It's not gonna happen? I was fully ready for it. Oh, that was a real bummer on that one, but it was awesome. Still, the challenges were great. And other things like that,
Yeah. So, Jen, what was your favorite challenge or game they played on Saturday?
Okay, so I think my favorite game was definitely the one with like the 2x4 planks and the boxes.
That was my game.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't set that one up.
So I think the reason why it was my favorite game is because my whole team like had to work together to make sure that we didn't step on the ground. Because if you get stepped on the ground, or if you step on the ground, you like have to start over. And so we were like one of the only teams that made it across within the time limit, and we made it to the halfway point over again. As I think that was like my favorite game out of all.
I'm not sure if I have one. Probably the one where you are at the lake and like you have to like dump the buckets overhead with the blindfolded. Yeah, that one was kind of fun. So one person is running back and forth between taking a sponge, soaking up water from the lake, and then putting it in a bucket. The other person is using the sponge, taking the water from the bucket and putting it into another bucket, and then that person's blindfolded. They have to dump it overhead to the next person who's also blindfolded, dump it into another bucket, and so forth until you get to a big bucket in the back, which carries all the water, pretty much.
And you had to fill the bucket up in a certain spot.
Yes. You could fill up more than one, though. I'm not sure how many buckets our team got.
I liked the one Jen said about the planks, and you had to like walk across the planks together, and they were really skinny, so they were really like, I mean, it's not like you're like falling like 20 feet if you fall. It's like right there. But you had to like balance the boxes. But the thing about our team is that like we were so amazing. So we got to the checkpoint to the end, and then we lapped the other people on the other team and the other team, because we were up against 2 other teams, and we like beat both of them. And I think that was like my favorite game because we won, and it was fun because we were good at it.
I'd say the same thing as those two, Jen and Rye. I like the point game definitely a lot because our team did really well at it. If I had to pick a second game though, I really like it's Sudoku / spoons. So basically, each of your team gets 3 cards, playing cards, and you basically pass them around until one person gets 3 of a kind. Once that person gets 3 of a kind, they show the cards, and then they can run out into the lake, where Scott, who is the regional leader, he was waiting on a paddleboard with Sudoku squares, and there's 9 of them, and you have to run, get a Sudoku square, then go back, then do the card thing again, and then once you got another 3 of a kind, run and get another, and you did that until you got all 9 Sudoku squares, and then you had to figure it out, which you could start figuring the Sudoku out before you had it all, but after you had to figure out the Sudoku puzzle, and that was actually really fun because my team did a great job at it, and we won. So, yeah, there was a lot of good team building games that morning. There was one with like metal pipes, and you had to get a golf ball between the metal pipes down. Your teammates had to be holding them. That was a very technical game for your team. And there's also slingshot games, which we weren't that good at. We couldn't get slingshot figured out for some reason. But yeah.
Okay, so kind of like what Jackson said, I personally liked the slingshot game because you had to like get the balls like in boxes or something. And my team, we kind of sucked the first half, but once we got a system going, we got some balls in. But when I was doing the slingshot, I had somebody else from Pathway, and she was guiding me to because we were blindfolded. And so I think the reason why it's my favorite is because I had to rely on somebody else's eyes and ears. And so it showed me that you can't do everything yourself. You have to have teamwork, sort of. That's one of my favorite other games.
Yeah, so there were 2 slingshot games, the one she said, and then there was one by the lake where you had to slingshot them in, and then someone was on the beach holding a bucket, and they had to catch it in the bucket. So you had balls you could get in, but then you had this this cake thing. It was a squishy cake thing you'd get at Target for 99 cents. And if you got that in, that was it was 10 points, was it? Yeah. So our team were just let's just get that in because there's no point in getting the balls in. So that was fun. And the Sudoku one, I don't know what the heck Sudoku. I know what it is, but I don't know how to do it. And up to this day, I still don't know how to do it after that game. So
I don't.
Okay, we're going to switch gears. I know. Okay, let's talk food. We always talk food because food's always a big part of these events that we do. So, Maverick, I know this is your first endurance. So, from your point of view, how was the food?
Great. Best thing I've had in a week. Serious.
Did you have a
That's-
favorite
Yeah,
meal?
I did. I think it was the chicken burgers on I think it was on Sunday. That was my absolute favorite meal of the week.
Right.
And breakfast that day. Because there was a lot of fruit, and I really do like the fruit. It's so good.
Okay. Kimmy, you've been twice now, so you have a comparison. How was the food this year?
It was pretty good. there was a time where me and my friend forgot to get spoons for a certain thing, so we had to use forks because we were like, we're not going back up. We're tired. So, I don't know. It was pretty good. Better than the winter retreat. Yeah.
Anybody else want to comment on the food?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so kind of like what Cami said, the food at the winter retreat sucked because there's such a long line. So whenever I would get food, the food would like be cold, and it wasn't my favorite thing, cold food. So endurance was the food there was amazing because you get it hot, and it's good.
Yeah, so everyone's just kind of hammering down on Pennsylvania retreat because the food was terrible, but I'm also going to do that. So you got like 430 people at Pennsylvania, and there's like only like, what, 150 at the one we just went to. The one with 400, that like the people who made the food, they're really nice people, but they don't take the time to make the food, okay? And it really doesn't taste that great, and it makes you want to throw up in your mouth. So when I went to endurance, third year, gotta call myself a veteran. I had the food, and yeah, I gotta say the chicken burgers were like the best. But yeah, overall the food was like really great.
Camp Squanto never disappoints. They've always got the best food, and breakfast and the chicken sandwiches, just A+ on the money, makes you just want to eat more. It's awesome.
Good. Okay. Let's go, Rylan, for this one. Do you have a memorable moment from this weekend? I know that's a tough one. I'm going to ask one other of you two, so be thinking about that, 'cause I don't know which one I'm going to choose yet. So, Rylan, you go first.
Memorable moment. Let's see here. Probably. Well, they always do worship, and I always love the worship. But there's this time they always do. They do it in Pennsylvania, and they do it here too. It's when you like they have prayer, and like you either ask for prayer or you like, you pray for someone. And I just really like that because it kind of just brings everyone out of their shell, and it really like, helps people out if they're struggling. So I thought that was very memorable because looking around the room and seeing everybody just praying for each other, it was just really nice.
Okay. Maverick, what was your favorite?
Well, it was a time that I was hanging out with my team and I was getting ready to do the skit before that. It was really fun. I mean, I was doing it with Trey, Evan, and a couple other team members, and it was awesome. I'll tell you that. I really did like it. And it was really funny, to tell you the truth.
Nice. All right. As you saw in the video, you guys saw a lot of worship, which there was a lot of worship. I think we had 3 different sections of worship. And we were lucky enough, our drummer the whole time was our own Jackson. He did an amazing job. Amazing job.
I was not expecting to drum all 3 days. Because beforehand I had texted with Eric Shanley, who was the kind of directing all the worship. And we texted a lot, and he gave me the songs. And he's like, not saying you're going to, drum every set list, but here's all the songs. And then, and it wasn't like, when we got there, I didn't know I was drumming first night. I'm like, you want me to drum first night? He's like, yeah, go ahead. And then he comes up to me the next day, and he's like, might need you to drum again. I'm like, yeah, sure, I love it. And then the next day, the same thing. So it was pretty cool to get to do that all 3 days.
Yeah, he did a great job. It was awesome. It's very, very good. So speaking a little bit more on worship, Cami, you can have the mic now. What did you think about worship? What were your thoughts? Any thoughts?
It was really good. Me and my friend, a few my friends were sorry, I'm trying to find the words. There were some really upbeat songs. They played Graves in the Gardens and another Praise. Yes, that's a good one. And we were jumping up and down, spinning each other around, going crazy, and it I got crampy from jumping up and down after, but I was I haven't felt that good in so long. that felt so good. It was fun.
Jen, do you want to say anything about worship?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'll tell you a little something. So let me think. At the winter retreat, I got saved at the winter retreat in February, and I learned. Thank you. I learned 3 things that night, but I didn't really realize it until at endurance. So I was like 16, 17 when I made that decision. And most kids make that, or some kids make that decision young. And when I was young, I had special needs when I was young because I spent the first 2 years of my life in an orphanage, and you get delayed at an orphanage. And so I didn't make that decision when I was young. So I made that decision when I was 16. And the things that I've learned was you're never too old to make that decision in life. You can make that decision late like I did. And the second thing I learned was you're never too old to make new friends. Because the person I went to go get saved, I met him like 8 hours ago. I met him that morning that I got saved at. And the third thing is you're never too old to be a friend. Because I was being a friend to everybody, and those 3 things that I've learned changed my life. And so worship, God spoke to me and said that I've learned those 3 things. I just didn't realize it.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. So kind of going off of that a little bit, and this is open to anyone who wants to answer this question. You guys have touched upon it a little bit, but we'd love to hear more. Did anybody feel the Holy Spirit close to you? Did you experience anything? Anything you want to share with the church? Did God speak to you at all? Anything you want to share? If you don't want to share it, it's fine too. Whether it was during worship time or outside of worship time? Anybody can answer this one.
I felt that God was really moving during prayer, and it was just such a humbling experience. It was so calm and peaceful, and everyone's just coming around alongside. I got prayed over by a couple of people that I know, my team leader and another kid that I had known, and it was just really nice. I felt like God was really touching a lot of hearts, and he was just moving and making his presence known through the worship, through prayer. And I just feel like he wants to touch the lives of everyone that comes to these retreats. He wants to meet us there. He wants to speak to us and to just, pour out his Spirit over us through worship and through prayer, through everybody coming together as a congregation or as people and praying over each other and doing that. It's really, really cool to see.
Same with Jackson. I felt him during worship and prayer. I was like sitting down during worship, and I was like kind of upset with some of the stuff that had been going on in my life, and it was the very first time I really felt angry with God, and I was really confused. And so I got prayer by a woman, and I just like started crying because it was really powerful. And after that, I just sat down, and although I wasn't like crying anymore, I was still upset, but I just felt like the Holy Spirit like kind of there. As I looked around the room, saw everyone else getting prayed for, I just saw that he's always with us, even in our hard times, and then I just immediately didn't feel angry anymore. It was good. Yeah.
So I think it was like the Saturday night after the main session that we had some ministry time, and I felt at peace because I've been going through some like struggles in the past like couple months because I had an opportunity to like go on the 3-week Project Timothy road trip. And God said no. And I was kind of grumbling because I thought it was something that he wanted me to do, but it wasn't. And my youth pastor, he was looking after me because he was the one that said no. And I was going through that for the past couple months. And at Endurance that night, I felt peace, sort of. And I haven't felt peace since the night I got saved, sort of. I haven't felt that peace and reverence, sort of. And so that was the time when the Holy Spirit met me that night.
Anybody else?
A thing about, during worship and prayer, it was very nice because you kind of sort of forget about everything that you're worrying about, everything you're stressing out about, and everything that is bothering you in the world, and you kind of just get relieved with everything that's happening around you because of the Lord is coming in, and it's you're just with him and you're worshiping him and you're praising him, and it's just something about that is just very stress relieving.
It was really good to praise. Absolutely loved it. One of the best times with everyone there. And it was good to have one of the pastors there pray for my brother Rylan, because it's always good to get prayer for him because, he's autistic in the way he is, But, yeah, I really did like prayer. It was one of the best things there. As well as praising. That was the best.
All right, guys. So we're going to, do you guys want to, I'm going to say a little something, but do you guys want to share anything else? Any other God moments you had or anything else you want to share with the church? I'll pass it.
Another thing that God spoke to me that night was that I was angry that he had let me go through some things, and the whole theme was he's with you in the storm. So he just kind of spoke to me and said that, well, not spoke to me, but I knew that God allows trials for a reason, and that during that moment I was told by my friend that the Lord, his heart breaks when he sees us suffering, but he allows it to bring us closer to him. And so I just felt him kind of speaking that night during prayer that, hey, it's okay. These are storms that you're going to endure. Everyone's going to endure storms, but that doesn't mean I haven't left you. Even if it feels like I've forsaken you, I haven't. Because I had thought to myself, God, why have you left me? But he was telling me, no, I haven't left you. I'm still here. Don't give up, kind of thing.
Yeah, isn't it interesting that sitting around that room, that you aren't the only one that feels that way. You've seen all of your peers having going through struggles or going through very similar struggles that you're going through at the same time. So you can take heart in knowing that you're not alone. God sees you, and he is aware of every single moment of your life, right? So.
Yeah, and going off of that, this was the first event that we haven't been to many, we've been to not even a handful, but from praying for some of the kids and hearing some of the stories, in your own prayer time, if you guys want to pray for these youth, for the youth of just everywhere, they're going through stuff that we can't relate with, and it's not all about what they're going through in their lives, it's about God, but they are experiencing God through all these trials that they go through that only they know about. Stuff that we can't relate with necessarily. It's just different because of where they are in the world right now. So just keep them close in your prayers, if you don't mind, because there's a lot of kids out there who need a little extra prayer, a little extra love. So just keep that in your minds. We just saw more of that this time than we have yet. So anyway, with that said, I think we're ready to wrap up here.
I would say,
So,
but
yeah.
also take heart that we were there with 120 other youth from around the region that all just love God and were just
Yes.
praising Him and worshiping Him and speaking truth into each other's lives. It was really, really powerful to see, really, reassuring when you look at the world that we live in and you think about, the youth of America or the world right now. There is very, very powerful good things happening that you don't get to see every day, right? We see all the negative, we see the bad things, but there's an amazing group of kids that are going to do amazing things in this world and that love Jesus. So it's very, I don't know what the word is, heartwarming.
Encouraging?
Encouraging, thank
Yeah.
you. It's very encouraging.
Very.
I do want to say they gave out a lot of awards at the end, and one of the, Jackson's team won the overall weekend. Yay for him and his team. Great job. But there was also Spirit Awards, and a bunch of teens, I don't know, 15 or so teens won Spirit Awards, and that was just for being encouraging, having a good attitude, being a team leader, all those things. And Rylan was one of those kids who got brought up and was awarded for that. So I just want to call that out. It's very easy to be negative, but he was extremely positive, as you can imagine. Rylan usually is. So, all right, take it away, Lori.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite moments this weekend was right off the bat in the van ride. You guys got to see a little bit of it, but these guys all they weren't just off listening to their own music in their own worlds, reading their own books. They weren't doing their own thing. They were a little bit, but they all came together and they all played this game together, and it was so amazing to listen to and to turn around and look at. You guys saw some of the footage, but it was really, really awesome, and we will certainly be doing it this way again. We won't be dividing the kids up like we did last time. We'll definitely do this again because it really pulled them close, like right off the bat. It was cool. And so, do we want to go ahead and pray? Yep, okay.
And
Yeah, go
also
ahead.
just thank you to the church for
Yeah.
all the donations and sponsorship for the youth, the trip. Just, thank you very much. It's really appreciated. These guys had an amazing time, so.
And thanks for sharing this time so they can come up here and share with you guys about their weekend. It means a lot. Thank you.